Well, it's very difficult, but I just want to thank the EDUO for inviting me to share also some view with you. But I'm afraid I will have something quite different as a feeling and as a comprehension of the euro crisis, because I think that euro crisis is the result of an ill conception of the EMU. Everybody can agree with that, but the problem is the answer we give to this. The problem is that the ECB was conceived after the Liller report as a quasi-federal agency by this time at the European level, but with a big inspiration of the Bundesbank, with its main mission, price stability, and also its status, independency. That is something very, very important, because when the euro crisis explode, first of all, there is different way to understand this. Because the first countries to be touched was Greece by speculative financial movement. But at the European level, they consider that it was because Greece did not respect the discipline of the Stability and Growth Pact. As you know, Ireland and Spain were also countries which were involved in the crisis because of financial speculation, but these countries were, before the crisis, two countries which were very good in the school of the discipline of the Stability and Growth Pact. So, what happens from 1999 to from 2009 to 2010? Well, it is the implementation of the new institutional setting of the Lisbon Treaty. And that will be three consequences. First of all, we have two new presidents in the institutional setting, because the European Council is not anymore something outside the institutional setting. It is an institution, and from a status of agency, the ECB is also among the institutional institution of the European Union. And this is something important, because in the group which will be set up in order to find a solution to the crisis, we will find a main role for the President of the European Council, because he decided to organize a meeting in the Eurozone format, but because he decided to the formation of the task force on European governance. And of course, there is all the complex game between France and Germany. But the principle is that in that group, which is in conformity with what was the report de l'Or in 1989, which was composed by the financial banker and the president of the European Commission, the Van Rompuy group will be composed by Van Rompuy, of course, the president of the Eurogroup, the president of the central bank, and also of the financial and economic minister, and the European Commissioner for Economic and Financial Affairs. So we are in a reflection where we can suppose that the economic governance will be influenced by a financial vision. That's the first thing. And we have also to have in mind that from 2008, under the flexible rules of the Stability and Growth Pact, member states were allowed to save their bank, or to take employment measures if it was in their national organization. But in 2008, by the end of 2008, things change, and the movement towards the new narrative of the euro crisis came on the, on the forefront. And in the institution, the thinking that we have to change the EU governance, the EU economic governance, but not to reinvent the wheel, but just to make the rules more tougher. And this is clearly in conformity with the German vision for which the respect of the rules is something that matter, and if a country does not respect it, well, it is a sinner and it has to be fined. So the reflection began on this basis. Outside of this, some measures were taken for Greece, but we know that this measure was taken in a very chaotic situation. And in the meanwhile, the discussion on the strengthening of the Stability and Growth Pact was evolving. For the European President of the Commission, in May 2010, it was something like a silent revolution which was in preparation. But let's go quicker. In September 2010, when the proposals were put on the table, it was obvious that something would change, and on the institutional side, it was, yes, indeed, very interesting. We have discussed all the new tool, the reverse majority vote, the monitoring of the public indebtedness. You know, there are many new things, but maybe the main important things was the addition of a new part to the Stability and Growth Pact, which is the new procedure for macroeconomic imbalances. And that is very new because when in the discussion around the EMU, it was questioned to give the status of independence to the ECB. One American economist, which is Stiglitz, said that he had some doubt because monetary policy has something to do with macroeconomic policy. And well, we see here that with the addition of that new part to the Stability and Growth Pact, there is something which is new and which is there, but not to repair in a way of better taking into consideration the financial division between the financial division of competence between the European Union and the member states. No, it is on the contrary a way to give the European institution a tool to be able to include in the new economic governance matters which were until there under the competencies of the member states. That's a very huge, important change, in my opinion, because it's totally different of what we can read in the Maastricht Treaty. But this is also something to do with the fact that that kind of solution is also the signification that the competitiveness paradigm before and after the crisis this remain intact. Because competitiveness was also the shadow project of the European Union when it adopted the common currency. Because with a unique central bank in charge of the monetary policy, well, if you want to remain competitive, the only way will be to adopt structural reforms. And with the crisis, there is a new opportunity maybe to impose more directly than it would have been possible on the member state the structural reforms which are hoped in order to reach competitiveness. That's a way of seeing the thing, because when we see which are the measures imposed by the Troika on Greece, yes, of course, we can see that even if the ECB is involved in the Troika, it has the last word, but we all know that she is very tough with the respect of the measure in ascribed in the referendum, the memorandum. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that also, when you see how the ECB, which is now a European institution, is also involved in all the process, not only in the task force, but also in the preparation of the document to be discussed by the European Council, which are prepared by the President of the European Council, by the President of the European Commission, by the President of the Eurogroup, and by the President of the European Central Bank. Well, there is a shift, and that shift is also assumed by the ECB, because when you read all the speeches of the ECB, when you read all what its president Mario Draghi said about the European social model, for instance, when he said that it is gone after the first LTRO operation, and when you see that when he received a press prize very recently, he said that we have to be aware that in the European Union, some economic models are no longer possible. And on that basis, he calls for the public opinion, because he wants to create a public sphere to discuss on this. And I think it's very interesting to see, because this is something very new, that President of Central Bank delivers such speeches, including in the political sphere.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Cécile, very much.